So did you know that Canada's heavily publicized ban on foreign home buyers?
The one they extended to at least January 2027, right?
Yeah, exactly, that one. It actually has this massive, completely legal exception built right into the fine print.
Right. I mean, if you've been following the market, you'd think the door's just completely shut based on the headlines.
You really would. But for this deep dive, we're tearing into a really eye-opening new analysis by Mandeep Tour.
He's a 20-year real estate veteran, right? The founder of the Omax e-real estate team.
Yeah, that's him. And his breakdown shows how permanent residents, or PRs, are quietly injecting just billions into Canadian real estate, despite the ban.
Because Tour's economic modeling, it basically strips away all that political noise. He looks purely at the legal definitions of the ban versus what's actually happening on the ground.
Which reveals a completely different engine driving the local markets. I mean, think of the ban like a nightclub with this giant, intimidating no-entry sign right at the front.
But around the back, there's this heavily trafficked VIP side door.
Exactly, and it's specifically reserved for anyone holding a PR card. Under the exact wording of the ban, getting PR status just instantly removes the foreign label.
And if you look at the sheer volume of people moving through that side door, it is staggering.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, just based on 2025 data, the top 5 source countries alone brought in over 184,000 new permanent residents.
Just from 5 countries.
Yeah. And Tour calculates that if you apply the national average home price, which is roughly, 677,000 Canadian dollars.
Which is not cheap, by the way.
No, not at all. But if you apply that, you're looking at a potential real estate spend of up to $50 billion in a single year.
Wow. Okay, so if $50 billion is flowing through this PR loophole, where is that wealth actually originating from? And, how is it reshaping specific markets?
Well, Tour notes the top source countries are India, the Philippines, Cameroon, which is actually driven largely by federal Francophone immigration targets, and then China and Nigeria.
Okay, and China ranks 4th in that list, right?
Yeah, they account for about 5.6% of new PRs by early 2026. And Tour really highlights this demographic because they historically over-index in property ownership and wealth transfer.
Meaning their impact on the market punches way above their actual demographic weight.
Exactly.
But wait, I need to challenge this a bit.
All right.
Because if new PRs from these countries are injecting up to $50 billion into local real estate, aren't they functionally just offshore money wearing a different name tag?
But that is the big question.
Right. How does holding a PR card negate their impact on the whole housing affordability crisis? Shouldn't we be blaming them like the headlines usually do?
It's a fair point, but Tour's data actually debunks that. Because if you look at the pandemic...
When the borders were shut.
Right. Offshore buying effectively dropped to zero, but housing prices still absolutely exploded.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it proves the affordability crisis was driven by domestic mechanisms.
Yeah.
Historically low interest rates, local investors leveraging their equity, remote work migration driving up suburban demand.
So the 2027 ban is essentially targeting a ghost, like an offshore boogeyman.
Precisely. I mean, even back in 2020, Statistics Canada data showed non-resident ownership was only 4.2% in Vancouver.
And that's the country's most expensive market.
Exactly. So the influx of global wealth didn't stop, it just restructured itself. Buyers are establishing residency, securing their PR status, and only then deploying their capital domestically.
Which brings us to the obvious friction here, because if you're watching your own local housing supply deficits just, widen, you might wonder why the federal government allows this VIP door to remain open.
Why they let it strain the market further.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because shutting it means the country basically stops functioning.
Wow, really?
Yeah, Tour maps this out super clearly. Immigrants make up over a third of Canada's scientific and technical workforce.
Okay, that's huge.
And it gets even more critical. They account for 2 out of every 5 pharmacists, dentists, and physicians.
2 out of 5. So you can't just subtract 40% of your medical professionals and expect the healthcare system to survive.
You really can't.
So the federal government is operating on this existential mandate to import these professionals, but that directly collides with municipal housing shortages.
Right. The foreign buyer ban was never going to stop global wealth from entering Canadian real estate. It merely shifted the timeline.
They get their PR status first, put down roots, and then they buy.
Exactly.
It really leaves you with a massive structural question to walk away with. I mean, if a nation's healthcare and tech sectors will completely collapse without permanent residents, but their arrival inevitably strains a broken housing market.
How do you fix that?
Yeah. How must a country fundamentally redesign its infrastructure to physically house the exact people it relies on to survive? I mean, the nightclub can't just lock its front doors. It has to build a much bigger building.